Man, this whole thing involving Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs is just one big, massive mess, isn't it? And to me, it's just crazy how a guy a few years ago goes from being the finals MVP type guy, the guy that you're going to look at and say he's the heir apparent to Duncan, he's going to be the face of the Spurs franchise for the next decade plus. He's a hard worker, he's a humble guy, he's respectable, all these other things. To now this past season happen with the hip injury or whatever hip injury it was alleged to be, barely plays. And now we've got Kawhi Leonard desperately, reportedly seeking a trade from the San Antonio Spurs to go somewhere, preferably to LA, preferably to the Lakers. Life comes at you fast, apparently, especially NBA life. That's nuts. It just lets you know that as much as you could think one way about a guy or a player, they can sometimes prove to be entirely different. Or even if you perceive them to be nice or humble, it doesn't mean at the end of the day that they're not trying to protect good old number one themselves, as they should. But this is a continuing and developing saga. Who's making an offer? Who's looking to make a swing for the fences? Who's going to try and get him? And as of now, we have no resolution. So where is Kawhi Leonard going to end up playing ball next season? You've got several teams in the mix. You've heard the reports about the Lakers being very interested and offering a package with Ingram and a future first-round pick, Josh Hart, maybe somebody else in the fold. I'm sure they would love to figure out a way to persuade the Spurs to take on Luol Deng's ridiculous contract, but good luck with that one. You've got the Philadelphia 76ers with Embiid and Simmons as their two core young stars. You could see a logical fit for Kawhi Leonard as that guy, as the primary scorer, their primary two-way player. Feel like he's a guy that could play next to Simmons, especially with Simmons' ability to facilitate the offense. You've got the Sixers with lots of young pieces. They can maybe make a package out of guys like Markelle Fultz and Dario Saric, maybe a future first-rounder, other pieces, other commodities. You've got the Boston Celtics where you've got Jaylen Brown. You've got potentially guys like Terry Rozier. You've got future first-round picks that could be very appealing for the Spurs. You've got choices and options out there. And the question is, who's going to step up to the plate? Now, when you look at Boston, you can see where Boston might feel that need to sit there and say, we want this guy because we feel like he can take us over the top. We feel like he can be that difference maker. Maybe they feel like this would be a way for them to get out from underneath Gordon Hayward's contract. And the fact of the matter is Kawhi Leonard is just better, especially as a two-way player. And when you look at in the East, assuming right now that you have to worry about how you're going to stop LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard would definitely be a step in the right direction. But with the Celtics, though, how much do you really want to sacrifice all this young talent that you have in order to bring in a guy that has 1 year left on his contract, that if you were looking to re-sign come next year will be at an even larger price than what you were paying to Gordon Hayward currently, all the while with absolutely no guarantee of how he's going to be health-wise in this upcoming season, and more importantly, perhaps giving up those young assets for a 1 year rental without any real guarantee that he's going to stick around. To me, that seems like an incredibly big risk for the Celtics and arguably an unnecessary risk. Like, I look at the Lakers and the Sixers, and I feel like it makes much more sense for them. Now, in terms of the Lakers, Lonzo Ball's not tradable because nobody else in the league is going to really want to deal, except maybe with the Suns, nobody else is really going to want to deal with the crap that comes with Lonzo, namely LeVar Ball. So you're talking about having to make a package out of Kuzma and or Ingram, Josh Hart, a future first rounder or two. And if you look at that from the Lakers standpoint, yes, you get Kawhi Leonard to come in. You think maybe you could entice LeBron James to come. Now you've got a core of LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and maybe either Kuzma or Ingram, but you're not trying to give up both of them. You've accomplished what you set out to do over the past 2 years, is positioning yourself in a way to be able to bring in two megastars or two big-time stars to Los Angeles. And that could work, and that could be what potentially happens. It's an option. But then when you look at the Lakers, even if you say, well, they can get a couple of veterans to come in for the minimum because they want to play with these guys, and perhaps that's true, But you could still be gutting the core of your team in order to make that happen. And how much good is that really going to do you? And even bringing in a LeBron and a Kawhi alone is not going to get you over the hump against Golden State and Houston in the Western Conference. How much are you really, really ready to sacrifice the future for a guy that, even if you say, okay, we bring him in, we feel rather confident we can re-sign him long term. Now you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, who I think his contract this year is about $20 million or so. You're talking about having to potentially almost double that, $35+ million a year, in order to keep him. And like I said, a guy coming off of a hip injury that missed the vast majority of the season seems like an awfully big risk to take, to sacrifice the future for the here and now, when the here and now may very well not result in a championship. I look at the Sixers, and to me, if I was Kawhi Leonard, that's where I would want to go. Because the Sixers, with a Kawhi Leonard, with a Ben Simmons, with a Joel Embiid, with some of the other young role players that they have on that team, could be a threat to Boston and perhaps a LeBron-led Cleveland team in the Eastern Conference, could eventually become a threat to usurp the Warriors and the Rockets and become NBA champions. Now, maybe Philadelphia, with Kawhi being a West Coast type of guy, isn't exactly his desired destination, but shit, I'd rather go to the Eastern Conference, play with two other young stars that still have their best basketball ahead of them. Yes, Philly is a tough city to play in, but shit, it's a really good opportunity. And they will be able to pay you what you're going to want come next year. I get where people get caught up in the thing about playing in the Lakers and the mystique of playing in California, playing in Los Angeles, skip a whoop-de-woo. But to me, I'd much rather play in Philadelphia. And frankly, if I'm the Spurs, I'd much rather trade Kawhi to a place like the 76ers, even if that leads to really good things for him in the future, because then at least I don't have to face him as much in the Western Conference. And especially, why am I trying to help out the freaking Lakers? So it seems like it's one of those three teams at this point, unless somebody else comes into the mix and surprises us. But I can't help but think there's a big part of all of this is that the reason Kawhi Leonard is so mad, the reason why Kawhi Leonard is so butthurt, the reason why Kawhi Leonard is so determined to get the hell out of San Antonio comes down to one simple thing, is San Antonio still hasn't offered him the Supermax. To me, that's what this whole thing is about. It's why he was playing it so safe with the hip injury last year and hardly played, because he was shutting himself down intentionally with the hope it being that he could get that Supermax, get that $40+ million a year. And look, if I'm staring down the barrel of being able to potentially get up to $200+ million of guaranteed money, you're damn right I'm going to be protective of my body. You're damn right I'm going to be extra cautious. You're damn right I'm going to be careful. And you're damn right if the organization that I've given so much to over the years helped bring a championship to and all of that, and I'm supposed to be the cornerstone, the franchise piece, and they don't want to give me that money, you're damn right I'd be pissed off. You're damn right I'd be wondering if they actually truly love me. You're damn right I'd be trying to sit there and force my way out and explore other options. But I really wonder if the Spurs came back and actually offered him the Supermax, if Kawhi would magically find a way to love San Antonio and playing for Greg Popovich once again. Because as we know, even with dealing with rich people, super rich people, like Kawhi Leonard is already super rich, he will be even more super rich once he gets his next contract. The money talks, all other bullshit walks. If the Spurs legitimately came to Kawhi Leonard with a Supermax contract for whatever it is, $200+ million over 5 years, I find it very hard to believe that Kawhi Leonard couldn't get over some bad feelings, couldn't find a way to make it work in San Antonio. Because ultimately, by demanding and trying to force a trade, he is costing himself money, quite a bit of money, potentially long term. Why would you do that if you didn't need to? Look, I realize San Antonio is not the Shangri-La, but you're in a good organization with a great head coach. Yes, maybe a bit too rough for you. Yes, maybe he doesn't do the best job of relating to younger players now, but Christ almighty. I would rather have a guy that I felt was difficult to deal with and win and be successful than go to another situation where who knows what's going to happen. Sometimes the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't. And as far as Kawhi goes, who knows what the Spurs are going to do? They could very well come back and try to offer him the Supermax. And if they do, maybe he accepts. Or maybe it is a relationship that is damaged beyond all repair. But who's to say that the Spurs are even going to trade him right now? They might try to wait until the trade deadline, play this thing out for a few months during the season and try to see if he'll change his opinion, see if they can convince him to stay, or see if a couple of teams get really desperate due to injuries or the way things break out, and even for a 2 or 3 month rental, they could still get a really good price for him. If the Spurs are going to trade him, they should trade him as soon as possible and move the hell on for the benefit of all parties involved. If they really truly do not want to trade him, even if they're putting out the feelers like they're ready to move on, then what they need to do is they need to step up to the plate, offer him the Supermax, and put the pressure on him to turn down close to $40 million a damn year. These guys can sit there and talk all the crap and trash they want, but you staring down the barrel of a $200+ million, 100% guaranteed contract, it's really, really hard to turn that down. So we will see what happens, I'm sure, pretty quickly here. He could be traded. He might not be. But I just have to wonder if this is still a one big play by Kawhi Leonard to get that Supermax contract. And he doesn't care where he plays. He just wants to get paid. Maybe it's time for the San Antonio Spurs to show them they're serious, and it's time to help the guy. Let him get paid.